All right, we're live. What's good, guys? So today we're going to be watching President Trump was in a cabinet meeting. And then after that, he has some words from something he said today.
That must have been Elon.
Bobby's phone is quacking.
Strange. That's all right. We've just completed what many consider to be the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and we're just getting started. Things are happening that are amazing, and I would not say it if it weren't fact. In a few short weeks, we've achieved the most secure border in American history by far, 99.9%, which is a number that nobody thought was doable. Biden thought you had to go back to the legislature to get legislation passed in order to create a secure border. You didn't. You just had to have the right president and the right people working it. Congratulations, by the way, and to Tom. For 2 months in a row, we have set the all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down 99.999%. That is usually 100%. So I think it's an amazing tribute, and Christy, congratulations, and Tom and everybody else. It's an amazing job, actually, and it was done very quickly. We officially designated Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and we're expelling these monsters from our country rapidly and working with the Department of Justice. Pam, you're doing fantastic. Your people are amazing. We're having some judge problems. Everybody's reading. We're having some judges that don't like, killers, murderers being thrown out of the country. So I don't know what their problem is, but we have little difficulty. We won on the basis of a great border and of getting criminals out of our country. That was why we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won everything. Every metric we won by a lot. It was a massive victory, and we won, I think, largely because of this issue. I put this issue as number one issue, and they don't want us to do what we're supposed to do, and I don't think that can be. And I hope the Supreme Court is going to fully understand what's going on. We have to get the criminals out of our country, and that's the basis under which we won the election. Core GDP, and this is, you probably saw some numbers today, and I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is the quarterly numbers, and we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways, not only at the border was more obvious.
He talks about Biden more than any other human on this planet. I'll say
in so
that.
many different ways. Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3% when you add it. We had numbers that, despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around. Gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%. Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung is now, because of the tariffs, they're going to build massive facilities in the United States. If we didn't do the tariffs, they wouldn't be doing that. So it takes a little while to get those facilities built, but they're coming in with big numbers. They're all coming in with big numbers. We have more monies being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say. Yeah. And really, it's going to be a lot higher than that. Those are just the ones that we know about. 8 trillion. I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden did $1 trillion for 4 years, 1 trillion. But we're at 8 trillion for 2 months, because let's give us a pass on the first month. We were sort of getting a little bit used to things, right? But after 2 months, we have $8 trillion. There's never been a number like that. And then
420 is making a point.
Chip companies, car companies, every form of manufacturing, high-tech companies. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So $8 trillion. I can talk about gross domestic product, gross domestic investment. I can talk about a lot of things, but to me, the biggest numbers, the kind of numbers that are, and these people are coming in. Our Secretary of Commerce spent the weekend, he went down to Arizona to see what was happening with the biggest chip company in the world. And he said, Howard, you said you've never seen anything like it.
Amazing.
You want to just describe what you saw?
So they're investing $165 billion in 1,100 acres in Arizona, and they're building the highest tech chip manufacturing, semiconductors, and 4,000 employees. You know, American tradecraft, right? Technicians doing every kind of work.
But everyone's just now coming in.
Foundation
We're watching
of
a
America.
cabinet meeting.
He's building it. They had 14,000 people. They're expecting 40,000 people to build the rest of their plants and to employ 20,000 people for the rest of the time.
And
This
you
is
never
all
s-
driven.
You never saw a site like that.
And this is all driven by your tariff policies. No chance this be happening without you.
It's going to be about 40% of the chip market from that one section, and this is the biggest chip maker. They have 99% of the market. They come from Taiwan, and unlike the CHIP Act, which was done by Biden, where they hand everybody billions of dollars, the thing they don't need is money. They got plenty of money. What they need is an incentive to come in, and the tariffs, they're building because of the tariffs. If without the tariffs, and I'd like to say they're building because of November 5th, the election, and the tariffs, but I'm going to be a little more blunt. They're building because of the tariffs, and November 5th gave them the tariffs. So it's amazing when you look. And these are not companies that go out and say, well, we're going to build, we have to go get our financing. Let's go. Like we would, in New York, everybody would look, you know, you'd get a building site, and then you'd look around for money, you'd look around for financing for 6 months, you'd get your financing. You'd build your building, the market would be good, you'd make money, the
Surfel
market
says,
would
is
be
that
bad, it wouldn't be so
cigar
pretty, you'd have to
Cuban you
negotiate,
smoke?
Bah, bah, bah.
It's,
This is different. These people have so much money, they don't know what to do. They are.
Cigar
I asked
hi-fi.
Howard, did they finance it? No, they do
Couldn't
it through
find
cash.
it.
And they say that site, and they just started, you know, they just announced it like a month ago, and they've already started. He said, I've never seen a site like it, so big. So, you know, you're talking about essentially a $50 billion building. Now, if you build a warehouse for $50 million, that's a big warehouse, Scott. But a $50 billion building, that's a lot. They're building the electric, they've become a utility. And I've given them the right to become.
I don't know if I'd
they're gonna
call it a
build their own
monopoly
electric, They're
catch,
going to build their own electricity,
but you're on the
which
right
they need
page.
tremendous amounts of
I am burning
electricity.
one,
They're gonna
John. I
build
hope
it
you're burning one
themselves.
with me.
Anything they have left over, they'll hook that into the grid. But the grid is old and they're unreliable and bad things can happen to grids. I said, if you want, you can hook into the grid, but that's a little bit risky. Or you can build your own electricity and become your own utility. And they, I think in all cases, are deciding to do that. So it's very exciting, and we have a lot of things going. We took over on January 20th. These are quarterly reports. We took over on January 20th. The tariffs haven't kicked in yet. I know that, and I don't want this to happen, but I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China.
I'll show you
I
guys
like
what
the
we're smoking on.
president
Hold on.
a lot, President Xi. I don't want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they are getting absolutely hammered in China.
I don't know if you're going to be able to see it too well.
You know, they're
this
sending
camera.
boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like
You know what I'm
nobody's
saying?
ever seen
It's a good
before.
time.
These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world, and they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back because they don't want the goods because 145% tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. So we'll see what happens. But, you know, I was not, because somebody said, well, were you happy? I said, I am not happy. I want China to do well. I want every country to do well. But they have to treat us fairly also. So with that, I think we're going to maybe go
Here,
around.
chat, make
and
sure you take your hit.
We have some letters
Take a big one.
where the
Come on, breathe in.
secretaries
You're fine.
and people around the table
All
are
right.
making statements about how they're doing and what's happening. And I could start with Pete on the left because he's my least controversial person at the table. No, they don't know how good he is. So we'll go around the table and you can hear it. And these are cabinet meetings where they're very open and transparent. And I can guarantee you Biden didn't do this. He didn't do this. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, Mr. President, I think we're controversial because we're over the target. And like so many things, Mr. President, you inherited a demoralized military that couldn't recruit, that was perceived as weak after what happened in Afghanistan and elsewhere because of Joe Biden. And what we have seen since your election and the inauguration has been nothing short of a recruiting renaissance.
It's true.
Decades, it hasn't been decades since we've seen this kind of recruiting in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force. The men and women of America want to join the United States military led by President Donald Trump.
And the police, by the way.
Absolutely.
And fire. I always mention the fire, but the police and fire, likewise are, I mean, they have waiting lists now, and 6 months ago was a disaster. Go ahead.
Truly historic. We can barely absorb the volume and retention as well. Men and women in the military who don't want to get out now that they have a real commander-in-chief. We're reinforcing standards. We're going to be fit, not fat, in our formations. We welcome back all the folks that were forced out because of the COVID mandate. We've ripped wokeness out of the military, sir, DEI, trans, and it's Fort Benning and Fort Bragg again at the DOD. We're rebuilding the military.
What do you guys think
sir.
about Pete?
The Golden Dome
You guys
is well
like
underway. F-47, reassuring allies and deterring enemies.
y'all see the,
Found nearly $6 billion
when they argued
in
with that world leader?
Doge savings that we're going to reinvest.
They
including
2v1'd him.
$50 billion from the Biden administration focused on things like climate that have nothing to do with lethality and warfighting. And we will have, as you said, sir, the first $1 trillion budget that we plan to spend wisely on behalf of our warfighters. From day one, sir, we've helped get 100% operational control of the border, coming alongside DHS and CBP.
Right.
We've got 11,000 troops on the border who now, because of the new national defense area, sir, can help detain illegals at the border and hand them over to CBP. It used to be if you saw camouflage on the border, they could hold binoculars, and that's it. Now we can detain and assist, and we are. We're going to get 100% operational control of that border. Our NATO allies know they have to step up. The Houthis in the Middle East are feeling the weight of American power, and we're deterring communist China. So because of your leadership, sir, I believe we're making the military great again. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Howard?
So I have the pleasure of running the investment accelerator, which gets to recruit these companies. And you've never seen anything like the companies committed to building in America.
I'm trying to keep it on the
Technology
speaker for you
companies
guys,
have
but
committed over
this camera angles are whack.
$2.5 trillion to build in America based on your tariffs, right? Sovereign countries all backing, the whole Middle East and all these countries backing their sovereign wealth funds. They all want to invest in America, and they're coming in, again, over $3 trillion committed. So just those two topics, you're at $5.5 trillion, and then you've got the whole pharma industry knows it's got to come home because America pays for all the drugs of the world. So the pharmaceuticals have to come home, right? Autos coming home, industrials coming home. So, you know, we've got to train, and your great Secretary of Labor together and Secretary of Education together, we're going to train the workforce to build America. It's unbelievable. We've got so much, as I travel around, the attention.
This is our
on the
Secretary
Trump
of
Gold
Commerce.
Card. I mean, it makes me very popular. Last night, I was out to dinner, and someone came up and said, can I buy 10? And how do I buy 10? And I'm like, that's pretty good. It's $50 million for dinner. So, you know, I was paying for my dinner. The External Revenue Service, right? You've got the tariffs and the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars coming in to build the External Revenue Service. That our objective, of course, is to replace the Internal Revenue Service and let those outside countries trading with us, let them pay their fair share to America. And then, of course, you got rid of de minimis. And what happened is these foreign countries were sending in little packages for free and knocking out our mom and pop businesses across America. You put an end to it, and you're going to rebuild the mom and pop and the small business of America. You're their president, and I'm proud to support you.
It's very important. De minimis. It's it's a big deal. It's a big scam going on against our country, against really small businesses, and we put an end to it.
Mr. President, so CAFE standards, we have the fuel economy standards on vehicles that are going to go to 50 miles per gallon. We are going to rewrite those standards, bring it down to something that's far more reasonable. Elon's fine with that, I hope. But it's going to drive down. It's going to drive down the price of a car in America, making cars more affordable for families. Also, Biden had the social cost of credit when we build infrastructure, roads and bridges, adding 3 to 5% on infrastructure costs. We've gotten rid of the social cost of carbon, driving down the cost of build roads and bridges across the country. We have what is called follow the law. So we have so many states and municipalities that don't follow the law. So whether it's DEI, discriminating against Americans, whether they give illegals driver's license, or they're sanctuary cities or states, if you don't follow the law, if you're giving license to illegals, if you're having DEI policies, we're not going to fund your projects. So you got to certify in your state or in your city to get road and bridge money or rail money that you're actually following the law, which includes the executive orders from you, Mr. President. We're cutting back funding. We send research money, Mr. President, to universities to do research on more equitable and sustainable transportation systems. Projects that'll use data and public opinion to inform policy and infrastructure and technology benefiting diverse communities, including women and gender non-conforming people. Just stupid wastes of money. We're pulling that money back from universities. We should do good research if we're doing research in universities. And then one last thing, air traffic control. We don't have enough air traffic controllers. We're about 3,000 short. We're working on an agreement with the union, so when controllers become retirement eligible, we're going to cut a deal to try to get them to stay longer, to stay in the tower. And then we have a plan to put more butts in seats in Oklahoma City, so we can get more students through the academy and into towers as well. It's going to take us a while to do that, to train them up, but we're in the process before our 4 years are done. Well before that, we're going to be at full capacity.
Sean, do you want to tell them about, I think we have to bring it up, we have very obsolete equipment for air traffic controllers. The equipment, the towers have horrible equipment. It's been renovated for years. The money they spent over the last 4 years, this Buttigieg did a horrible job. They wasted billions and billions of dollars hooking up wire equipment to non-wire equipment to satellite equipment, and you're not, a third grade student would know it doesn't work. You can't work it. They wasted tens of billions of dollars. But we want to put a brand new air traffic control system in, and you might want to describe that, please.
This, you and I have talked about this. It's a state-of-the-art system, envy of the world. And it's, I mean, listen, I don't.
Time I get
our
to Trump,
system
this
is
man
safe,
passes it back.
But you would have hoped someone would have seen that there's a problem with fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters coming in at DCA. Someone should have seen that before we lost almost 70 lives. It's our job to look and see that we have an aging infrastructure around air traffic control. And so if we don't build a brand new system, there's going to be failures and people will lose their lives. And so we need the help of Congress to help fund this, but it's going to be all brand new. And after you build a brand new system, we have the bedrock and the foundation to actually build on top of it. But no one has done this, Mr. President. There's Band-Aid fixes that have happened over the course of 20 years. You can't have a Band-Aid fix. It doesn't get done. It has to be brand new. The technology, it looks like it's out of a 1980s movie. Old computers, floppy disks. We're using copper wires, not fiber. So there are great solutions we have available that, and by the way, if everyone's sick of their delayed flights or their canceled flights, we have more capacity in the airspace. And if we build this brand new system, what you'll have is more efficiency in the airspace, and it will be safer. So the economy will be stronger. We can have more flights and less delays. So I appreciate your support on that, Mr. President.
Rebuilding that is very important. You wouldn't have had the helicopter crashing into the plane at 400 feet up when it's supposed to be 200 feet. That would have, bells and whistles would have been gone over, and you would have heard the screaming equipment saying there's a problem coming up in 15 seconds. You got to do something about it right now. And it would have also sent the word right into the helicopter, because I guess you'll be doing the full report on that. But it was pretty obvious what happened. Right. And they were supposed to be at 200 feet. They were at 400 feet, and a terrible thing. And that wouldn't have happened if we had the right equipment. If we had the right equipment, you would have heard bells and whistles going off, and it would have alerted them long before that would have happened. 2 minutes before, it would have had a lot of time. So we have to do this. We have no choice, and we're going to do it. And we're going to be very proud of it. They did old equipment in new equipment, and you can't hook in old equipment to new equipment because it's different. Some is satellite and some is ground. The satellite doesn't work. This man would know that better than anybody, but you can't hook up a satellite system to a ground wired system. And if you do, you're wasting a lot of money. They spend billions. This is Buttigieg. They spend billions and billions of dollars trying to patch a system together. They had hundreds of different contractors, and the contractors were all fighting with each other. We're going to have one great big contractor, like the great big beautiful bill, which is going along very well. I guess I like great big beautiful, but we're going to have one great big beautiful contractor, whether it's maybe Raytheon, maybe IBM, maybe it could be any one of 4 or 5 different groups, but you put one in charge. They're very big, very powerful monetarily, and they give you a guarantee, and they hook up everything. They do every single thing. So they're responsible for the digging of the ditches and the fiber and every single element. And it's one system that's hooked in. It's not all these hodgepodge systems that don't work together, and it's just a shame. I mean, it's basic construction, but it's complex stuff, and there are a few companies that do it unbelievably well, and we're going to have that. So, good job, Sean. I know that's your big project.
And Mr. President, no one has done it because it is complex. It's hard to do because as you're building a brand new system, you have planes taking off and landing, and so because it's complex, no one has done it. And you've given the directive and the support to make this happen. So
well,
thank you.
ours is going to be an all-new system.
Cabinet's
It's gonna all
amazing.
hook
I'm
up.
just
It's gonna be
saying,
the same,
for sure.
The same tower is going to have the same equipment, and all towers all over the country, all over the world actually, mostly, are going to be hooked in together. And when there's a problem, when planes are too close, you will hear a sound that's very ear-shattering, and I've heard it, and it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's amazing. It's real genius stuff, and we didn't do that. What we did was just waste money. You could have just thrown it right out the window. What they did in this last 4 years was disgraceful. Whether it was the border or this, you can name 100 different things. The worst administration ever. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Secretary, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. And I think one of the things that I want people to understand about the VA is we're part of the national security interests you have, and you've laid the groundwork for that. It's leadership and making sure that with the Secretary of Defense and myself, we take care of veterans on 2 ends. One when they come in, and one when they serve and they've earned the benefits that we have. And one of the things is, if we're not doing our job on our end, then the recruitment and all goes down on the other end because we have a full spectrum. That's what leadership is about. What we found, and speaking the last 4 years, is we found an administration that wanted to throw money and people at problems, but they didn't want to put leadership in. They just put money and people at it, and we saw wait times stay the same. We saw issues of suicide rates, death by suicide, not change. We saw a homelessness issue barely go down. We saw disability claims skyrocket when you took place, over 250,000 back dislodged, which we're already bringing down almost 40,000 so far.
I feel the
just
need
in
to
last
fact
couple
check
months.
constantly.
But we've also put back what you and
just
I
wanna
was
know
in
the
Congress when
numbers.
this happened, and I was glad to see it. The Mission Act is back front and center at the VA. We're actually doing community care. We're actually giving the veteran the choice that they've earned and they deserve, whether they can get their VA care inside our facilities or in the community. It's their choice. It's VA care. We're going to give them the highest quality care wherever they want to go. Also, we're expanding out options for treatments and others for those that are new. We're experimenting and looking at new counseling ideas, all new drug techniques that we can help with PTSD, TBI, the things that are affecting our veterans right now. But also, we've taken the leadership to take people and bring them back into work where they're actually communicating. They're back in our offices. We put thousands of people back in. We're processing more claims daily than we were in the last little bit, hit 1 million before has ever happened, and we're actually bringing it down. I've actually taken our deputy secretary, and he is actually handing a strike force now to bring down that disability claim, plus our regular work that we're having done. We've also taken almost $300+ million and taken it out of contracts that we've all heard about so far. We were doing contracts for meeting notes and PowerPoints, and if our folks didn't know how to do meeting notes and PowerPoint, go online and learn yourself. We're not going to pay for it anymore. And we took $360 million and put it back into community care and also our health records management system that we have. We've opened 6 new facilities just in the last little bit so all the media who wants to talk about how we're hurting healthcare, we just opened 6 new facilities. By the way, thank you, you're welcome. As we go from that, we've continued. We've also took $11.6 billion in ceiling values of contracts.
Chat, what does that say? He's the Secretary of Veteran Affairs?
Cost avoidance for the future.
Oh, that's why he's only talking about the VA.
The ability to take care of our patients and also our disability benefits. We've also gotten unity again. We did away with $14 million in DEI spending. We've ended gender dysphoria treatments.
You guys are
Phased
going
that
crazy
out.
in chat. I'm
All
trying to
directed
keep up.
Savings from that go to paralyzed
And
veterans
listen, it's
and
hard.
amputees. We've also continued to work toward, as you've, in anti-Semitism and also anti-Christian bias that we saw. The biggest thing, though, Mr. President, I wanted to state is you told me when you said for me to take this job, you said take care of my veterans. Well, we've done something in taking that step forward. The veteran is back first at the VA. The VA is not about itself anymore. We're not a self-feeding animal. It's about a service organization that takes care of one of the best we have, and that's our veterans. And that way, Mr. President, we're just getting started.
Thank you, Doug. How are you doing with the suicide rates?
We're getting, it's tough, Mr. President. That's something that we're looking at. This is something that we've had $588 million has been spent over the last, especially 4 or 5 years to be prevention, and yet the numbers stayed at 17 or 21, wherever you want to have it. We're now opening that back up, taking in nonprofits. We're bringing in others who have things that are actually looking at. I worked with Secretary Kennedy and others on the idea of we're opening up the possibility of psychedelic treatment and others that give us an opportunity.
Hey.
We got to research it, make
Hold
sure
on.
it's good, but it's
Now we're
opening up
talking.
that possibility. And I think, again, veterans are under...
No, he just said they're looking at opening up the psychedelic treatment. He's talking about like using more mushrooms and DMT and stuff like that to help these patients. What do you guys think about that? That's an interesting topic.
Understanding now that we're putting them first, when I go to these hospitals, they're actually coming up saying thanks. We're back in where we need to be, and we're seeing a workforce develop. So suicide is going to come down. It's also going to take some transition stuff that your Secretary of Defense has been very helpful on. We've got to transfer them out of the military so they come to us better, but we're working on that.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Jameson?
Mr. President, it may come as a surprise, but this has been the busiest 100 days in the history of the
By the way, in history, you know, this is the biggest deal ever done. If you sold IBM, ExxonMobil, and 5 other companies together, it's peanuts compared to what we're doing. This is the biggest deal ever done financially in the history of the world. And I think we're doing great. You're going to see some big, big results. Go ahead.
And I'll just say something that Secretary Duffy said in his context, because it's complex, no one has done it. So this is something.
What's good,
reordering
Sharon Miley?
trade
Welcome
that
back.
hasn't
Miley, I
happened
never
since the end
know,
of
are you
the
talking about me or
And it's
Trump?
long
Who's
overdue
fine stuff?
Because we've seen manufacturing offshore under the old global trading system. With the net result of the global trading system is that all the manufacturing goes to Asia and other places. That's a system you have to replace, and that's what you're doing. They said you wouldn't be able to do global tariffs. We did it. They said everyone would retaliate. No one retaliated outside of China. They said no one would come to negotiate. We're talking to dozens of countries. They said no one would have offers. We have dozens of written offers. We have lots of countries in this week. This is like a break for me to come.
You have the list. You have the list with all the countries that want to negotiate.
Sure.
They all
So
want
this
to
is,
negotiate. They want to make a deal.
don't zoom in on this. Yeah, this is like a tracker, right? We have all these columns of which countries have come in, when we started negotiations, who gave us an offer, are we in technical talks, and when do we expect to have deals done? Those are some weeks out, but we're working very quickly on this. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Jameson. You're going to have a lot of fun for the next 3 weeks.
Fun. It will be fun.
Have anything?
Yeah, Mr. President, the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden, and then we've had 100 days of your leadership with respect, with strength, starting with there'll be all hell to pay if you don't let our people go. Dozens, over 40 Americans have come home under your leadership. Far more terrorists are no longer threatening the homeland under your leadership, pulling all of these agencies together, including the evil individual responsible for the Abbey Gate bombing, and to sit with the 13 Gold Star families, and you showing that follow-up and that justice has been incredible. But pulling this great team together, Mr. President, everything from revitalizing shipyards to cyber to space.
Linda, thank you for the
takes
sub
this
on
entire
YouTube.
team
Welcome
working
in.
together. It's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it. Amen.
Thank you very much. The Abbey Gate is really important. This was a horrible thing. It destroyed the image, frankly, of the Biden administration. What happened there was a disgrace. It should have never happened, and Pam is working very much on prosecuting that person. We have the person, and he'll do well. I have no doubt about it. Thank you very much, Michael. So the CIA, I don't know, Radcliffe, I don't know if he's going to say anything. He's probably the one person here that's not allowed to talk about the great job he's done, but go ahead anyway.
Mr. President, as you know, at your direction, the CIA has deployed our unique covert action authorities in various places and continents
This
to
is what I'm
successfully
interested in.
advance your national security and foreign policy
Director of the CIA.
priorities, to advance peace, to end wars, to take terrorists off the battlefield, and to keep illicit drugs from coming into this country and harming Americans. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to detail your accomplishments in that regard, we can't do so in front of this crowd. But you and I both know, Mr. President, that you have had a profound positive impact on America's national security posture, and Americans are safer because
I'm going
of
to
your
pronounce
leadership.
that Bordeaux.
What I
Thank
can
you for the
talk
sub
about
on
publicly
YouTube.
is, as has been mentioned, the CIA provided the intelligence that led to the apprehension of the Abbey Gate bomber, who is now being prosecuted by our great Attorney General and providing a measure of justice to those 13 families that suffered as a result of that disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal during the last administration. In addition, at your direction, Mr. President, the CIA has negotiated and secured the release of Americans like Mark Fogel and Ksenia Karolina, who have been wrongfully detained, sending the message that you will forget about no Americans that are being held in other places unfairly and unjustly. And finally, Mr. President, the CIA
Elias,
is
thank you
being
for the sub on
restructured
YouTube. Welcome in.
at your direction to focus on our core mission and to eliminate the well-documented politicization that has taken place in the intelligence community from bad actors in the past, to focus on our core mission and to make America safe again. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Good job. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
He didn't say too many details,
We're
but
obviously
didn't
involved in
expect
a
him
number
to.
of budget bills that are moving, trying to make sure all of your priorities are reflected in the reconciliation, working on our upcoming budget. Wonderful job by the entire cabinet on that front. Details soon on that front. Sending up precision bills to Congress for things that Elon has found. But the regulatory aspect is something we don't talk about enough. And right now, you've given us a goal of 10 for 1. We are working right now with all of the
Yes, sir,
agencies to
Chubby.
wrap
We
up
stream
how
every
big
day at
of
7
the
o'clock.
deregulatory agenda that we can have. When you came into office, you basically stopped $200 billion in costs to American families just by stopping the Biden regulatory agenda. That's about $2,000 per family. We think when we're going to hit these 10 for 1 goals that we could be in the neighborhood of about $900 billion in savings to American families that would be substantially bigger than that $2,000 number. And the point that I would make, in addition to just savings cheaper to the American people, there's an aspect of wisdom when you're enforcing these rules that comes into play. And I'm your regulator for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and we found this small mortgage lender in Chicago. His name is Barry Sterner. He had a firm called Townstone, and CFPB had gone after him because he complained about crime in Chicago, literally the same thing that the Democrat mayor had talked about. And they came after him for 7 years.
I can't see who this
on
guy
a
is.
redlining
Who
disparate
is this?
impact
Secretary of
claim,
what?
and ruined his life. We overturned that. We apologized on your behalf to that individual, and we basically, without having to go through notice and comment, we ended the policy that set that in motion. And so that's happening across these agencies with how they are using their
That's crazy,
enforcement
Veda.
discretion, and it will only continue based on the stonewall of backing that you've given us to make these hard calls. I don't think they're actually that hard, but no one's done it to this point, and we were able to go forward and do that because of the backing that you've given us.
So maybe the biggest thing we're working on, maybe bigger than tariffs in a certain sense, is we call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. And that's wielding its way right now through the Senate. And John Thune has been actually amazing. And the Speaker has been so great, Congress. Mike Johnson has been really.
Yeah, their
two guys
camera is
that-
like
they
4K
get
though.
along
I can
great,
see
and it's just
every
been a
thistle
beautiful,
of hair in
unified
Trump's head.
Attack.
It's not a wig.
Really, because we have to attack because the Democrats are trying to stop it at every turn. It would mean a 58% tax hike if they were successful, and lots of other bad things beyond the tax hike. But with us, it'll be the biggest tax cut in American history. How are we doing with the bill?
We're doing great. We're
You're
day
doing
in,
better
day
than
out,
great.
hour by
That's
hour
true.
negotiations to make sure your stuff is in there, and to make sure we have the border resources, the defense resources, and to save the American people some tax money, and make sure all those tax cuts that you ran on are in there that help get people back into the workforce. And I think we're making a ton of progress.
Brenda, thank you for the sub on
You're doing
YouTube.
well.
If too many of you guys do it at the same
Like I
time,
said,
it
the
won't pick up
biggest tax
everyone.
cut
So I
in
can
the
only
history
read
of our
out, the
country.
chosen few that
And it
the
would be the
tracker
biggest
catches.
tax increase if
Love
the
you guys.
Democrats are successful. They're the only people I've ever seen running for office where they want to increase taxes, but this would be a 58, maybe a 60% tax increase, unsustainable for the American people. Thank you very much. Great job.
Who's next?
Susie, the most powerful woman in the world, they say. I agree with that. I agree.
I'll be brief so you can hear from these amazing people. Congratulations to everyone.
I wanna see who
on
these people
on 100
are.
days. That's been it's unparalleled in my memory and best I can tell ever. But it hasn't been busy for busy's sake. The president's promises made to the American people have been kept time and time and time again. You all have been out there spreading the word with community groups and states and media. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and let's work hard for the next 100 and have equally as much success then. Thank you.
And you're doing a great job, Susie.
You're doing a great job, Susie. We don't know what job you're doing. Chat, is she doing a good job?
Do we have anybody
feel like
that
I'm there.
disagrees, please? In front of the media. In front of the media. Please raise your hand if you have the courage to do so. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Thank you. And you made it very clear that you wanted to put America first. And also from day one, you wanted to make housing affordable again, because we do have a housing affordability
Yeah, welcome in everyone new.
crisis
I'm
in
keeping
our
up with chat. I
country.
just gotta let the
And
people
so
talk.
at HUD, we've been cutting all the red tape and bureaucracy as it pertains to housing affordability and unleashing creativity of our builders and developers around our country and restoring local control. We took down the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule, as you know, which was a zoning tax from Washington. So no longer will Washington be picking winners and losers, but localities and elected officials in different states and cities will have that flexibility. Also, you alluded to securing the border, and such a great job has been done with all of our partners at the table. And at HUD, we want to make sure that the resources that we have now, which is American taxpayer dollars, in the Biden administration, they prioritize illegal aliens over the American people. And so we signed an MOU with Secretary Noem at DHS to make sure that HUD-funded housing
Department of Human
only goes
Resources
to
on this
American
guy.
citizens,
We got it.
and no longer will it go to illegal aliens coming across our border. We have about 9 million people living in subsidized housing in our country. 59% of illegal alien families use some
So they're
sort of
cutting
welfare
subsidized
program,
housing?
costing us
Thank you,
$42 billion a
Unknown.
year.
Thank you for the sub on
And so we
YouTube.
have
Welcome in.
prioritized American and American people only to live in HUD-funded housing.
Okay,
And
that's-
also, to make housing affordable, we also signed a partnership with Secretary Burgum at DOI to use underutilized federal lands, as you campaigned
That's
on
good,
and promised,
Cat.
to identify
coming to
those
listen to
lands
Trump.
to build affordable housing in our country so that people can realize the American dream. We also restored biological truth, as you did in sports. We have the equal access rule at HUD, which we took that rule down to ensure that at women
No
shelters,
clause, please. No clause.
that those that
Ow.
enter those shelters would be
Kalusit, thank you
of
for the sub on
same
YouTube.
sex.
Welcome in.
And
This
that
cat
we
is as
protect the
desensitized
ladies
as this
of our
cabinet.
country.
She'll let you
No
do whatever
longer
you want
will
with her as long as you
those
pet
that
her.
identify as women, but
You can
are
order
not
one now in the
be
description
able
box
to enter
below.
our shelter so that we can protect the ladies that we serve. Along with our Doge task force, we identified over $2 billion in savings. At HUD, $260 million at HUD were just in contracts, $4 million were DEI. And so we took those contracts down and de-obligated and sent back $1.9 billion back to the Treasury for the American people. Again, we want to be good stewards over the American taxpayer dollars. And so, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership in this. And we have a tremendous team at HUD.
Yo,
I'm so grateful to
James
be part of
and
this team
Andrew,
around
thank you
this
for the
table,
subs on YouTube. Welcome
to
in.
take care of the American people. and I consider it a great honor and humble to do so.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Brooke?
Well, I'm not sure if anyone's heard, but the price of eggs is down.
The price of eggs is down.
I know it's news.
This is the agriculture lady. I saw her earlier. This is Department of Agriculture.
It's just such a joy and an honor to continue to do this work, so thank you for that. We have been obviously very focused on the cost of groceries, specifically eggs led the way, as you have so eloquently discussed over the last few months, and we're holding tight on a very significant decrease, which is great, and investing where we need to there. As I mentioned before the press came in, we have had a massive issue with Mexico on water, getting water to our farmers along the border for decades. When I worked in Texas 25 years ago, we were fighting with the Mexican government over the water then. You got involved about 2 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness, Kat.
That evening I started conversations, and as of just a few days ago, thanks to Secretary Rubio's great deputy secretary and I have been negotiating, and we hit the best deal, I believe, in history on behalf of our farmers, and thanks to your leadership and your strength on that.
The
And
South's
that's a
gonna
really
rise
big deal
again.
long term,
Yep.
for those farmers.
Farmers
in
got their
in the
power
southern part of
back.
the country. On the energy side, I know we've got Secretary Burgum and his partner Secretary Wright, but we often forget that
Ow,
agriculture
Kat.
has a major
You're hurting
piece
me.
of the
Over
energy
here.
dominance agenda, not just timber, not just minerals, but biofuels. So we continue to support that great leadership coming from those agencies, and doing hopefully our part as well, and they've been incredible in that. Our farmers have been hurting under the Joe Biden administration. There was a 30% increase in the cost of input, so the cost of doing business for these farmers over those 4 years. When we left the White House the first time 4 years ago, we had a $0 trade deficit with our agriculture products. After 4 years of Biden, that hit $50 billion because they just didn't make an effort. And so obviously that's $50 billion less dollars at a time of very thin profitability for our agriculture community.
Yo,
So the
Whitney, thank you for the sub on
Congress
YouTube. Welcome in.
because
No
the
Pyra.
last
No
administration didn't
Pyra.
get a farm bill done
Pyra,
either.
no.
The farmers were hurting there, so
Pyra.
Congress stepped in. I say all that and,
Pyra.
basically said $10 billion
Like, what's the
to
point
move
of
out.
having a cat, man? They don't listen.
USDA, fastest in history. That money went out to those farmers that couldn't make plant their
Fucking
crops.
Panther.
And so I'm really proud of that, and you'll hear a lot of that from your farmers today, that this USDA is moving more quickly than any ever before. And we're not organizing money based on the color of skin and other ways, which was how the last administration was moving out. We've canceled $6 billion in contracts thanks to our great friend Elon Musk and his Doge team. A lot of those were DEI, gender, studying transgender mice. Who knew? The racism in pest management. We've canceled all of it. We're going through a major restructuring. USDA is one of the biggest agencies. It's sort of a catch-all. And we're really downsizing and aligning around putting farmers first, which is really important. A big part of USDA though is food stamps. It is perhaps one of the largest, if not the largest, welfare program. And it's a supplemental nutrition program. Secretary Kennedy and I have been working very closely. We were in Texas yesterday talking about nutrition and agriculture. You can't make America healthy again without your farmers and your ranchers as your partner. So ensuring that our food stamp program and those at the bottom end of the socioeconomic ladder really have access to nutritious foods as we're facing an obesity crisis and a chronic disease crisis, which I'm sure Secretary Kennedy will touch on. And the final thing I'll say is this morning, Secretary Noem and I, together, and I brought a picture because I think this is important and it goes to why we're here. This is a South Dakota ranching family named the Mods. They are a fifth generation ranching family. Charles Mod, in his 30s, bought the ranch from his granddad.
Trump's face
I'm gonna show
is
the
killing
press,
me.
when he was 17 years old. Those
Trump's
beautiful
face is
children,
killing me
Kyle-
right now.
Lyle and Kennedy, his wife Heather. Under the Biden administration, they had, of their several hundred-acre operation, they used about 20 acres.
Is he
and had
real?
a fence that had been there since 1910 when their family took over the ranching operation. There had never been really any problem that had been brought to their attention. Perhaps there was a minor dispute over, again, 20 acres. This family was indicted, prosecuted, threatened with jail time, told to find guardians for their children over a fence line dispute. that the Biden DOJ pushed forward. So this morning on the steps of the U.S. Department of Agriculture with Secretary Noem, who was their governor as the governor of South Dakota, which is where these great people are from, all charges, criminal charges, were dropped, and really appreciate the Department of Justice. It was a really big day as we sent the signal that the over-criminalization and using government, and you know this better than anyone because you were in the crosshairs for so long, that those days are over and the regulation through prosecution is no more. And so this family is one of many that we'll now be talking to ensure that never happens again.
Good. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Great job. Yes, Scott.
Sir, it's been a momentous 100 days with you at the helm, and I view this 100 days as setting the table for peace deals, trade deals, tax deals. So the next 100 days will be harvesting. You've created negotiating leverage and leadership that are going to yield remarkable results. Energy costs have plummeted. Mortgage rates are down, food costs are moving lower, and American families are finding their financial footing again. I had a group in today. America, under your leadership, is on the verge of becoming an AI superpower, that our economy had become barbelled. We had high tech and finance on one side, natural resources led by energy, which the previous administration tried to kill on the other, and you're filling in between with precision manufacturing that we're going to be bringing back through good trade policies, good tax policies. Under the DOGE at Treasury and the IRS, cost, tech support, and efficiency have increased. We have the IRS revenues are up, and thanks to the young man sent over by DOGE, the IT update that began in 1990, which was begun before he was born, is going to be finished
Look
during
at
your
Trump's
term.
face while these guys are talking.
Trade.
That's all I can focus
Couldn't
on.
make it up. Trade,
He makes the
taxes,
funniest
and
faces.
deregulation. The one big beautiful bill under your leadership. Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done a great job, but they have you as a closer on many of their members. And I'll just close by saying economic security is national security. National security
T. Martin, thank you for the
is
sub on
economic
YouTube. Welcome
security,
in.
and it's never been better. We're rebuilding it. And as I said last week at the IMF and World Bank conferences, America first does not mean America alone. Under President Trump, it means leadership.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. Are you busy enough?
He just laughed.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you, and thanks to the cabinet. So, at the risk of insulting everybody else at the table, I believe that I am the youngest member sitting at the table. And it occurred to me that from the time that I was born to the time that Donald J. Trump was inaugurated just a few months ago, we went from, again, 40 years, we went from the world's manufacturing superpower to one in which we depend on the People's Republic of China to make the things that we need. We went from the proudest military in the world to one in which we failed to meet our recruiting goals. And we went from one in which bipartisan border policy was the consensus of both Democrats and Republicans to one in which we allowed 20 million people to run roughshod illegally over the countryside, causing crime, causing a stress in the welfare system. And again, that happened over the lifetime of the youngest member of the cabinet. And what has happened in 100 days is that we've started to reverse every single one of those negative trends.
That's not young.
And I think what it shows to me is that the president,
young, you know what I mean?
You sit in the Oval Office and you see these portraits of presidents past. And let's be honest, most of them have been placeholders. They've been people who have allowed their staff to sign executive orders with an auto pen instead of men of action. And the reason the media attacks this administration as chaotic is because the president is solving the problems the American people set about.
He does look good for 40 though. I mean,
he's
dude,
actually doing.
Dude looks young. He looks like he's like,
he would do.
you know,
Mr.
32.
President, it's been an honor to be
I don't know.
part
There's
of it
gray
for
in the
past
beard.
100 days. And let me just make one other observation because it's interesting. I've seen the data. I've monitored it. I've looked at it. But the most underreported fact of the first 100 days is that we came in with a massive recruitment shortfall And in 100 days of Secretary Hegseth and President Trump's leadership, we now have people breaking down the doors to join our military. To the media assembled
He
here,
is the youngest at the table,
It's a really
you're right.
interesting question. Why has that happened? Completely aside from the fact that I think it's a good thing, or I think that President Trump deserves political credit for it, why did we go from a military where people didn't want to serve to now all of a sudden they do want to serve? That's a story you guys should cover, but compared to that, how much time have you instead focused on the fact that we deported an MS-13 gang member with a valid deportation order, and why is it that the press is so focused on the fake BS rather than what's really going on in the country? I think that what we've shown, sir, is that you can do a lot. You can do a lot in 100 days, but you've also unfortunately revealed that too much of the American media hasn't learned the lessons of the past 40 years. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Pam?
President, your
Damn, you're
first
ridiculous.
working day has far exceeded that of any other
That's so
president
funny.
in this country, ever. Never seen anything like it. Thank you.
I don't know who this
Your
is.
directive to me was
She's
very
new
simple.
to me.
Make America safe. And despite that, we've still been defending over 200 civil lawsuits filed against you. On top of everything else, I think I'm representing every one of you in this room in some capacity.
This is his,
I know
like,
you will not be
legal
arrested
department?
by the U.S. Marshals. Over 200
Pyro,
lawsuits,
you're
over
crazy.
50 injunctions, and now we've got multiple cases in front of the Supreme Court, and we will succeed, and we are doing great in
Welcome
front of
in,
the
everyone
Supreme
new.
Court, President, and we'll continue on with that. I was at DEA yesterday, and they said to me, you, Donald Trump, have taken the handcuffs off of DEA agents. And as a result of, since you have been in office, President Trump, your DOJ agencies
Dude,
have
she just comes
seized
back around. There's no stopping
more
this
than
cat.
22
If this cat
million
wants in your lap,
fentanyl
she's gonna
pills,
find a way on your lap.
3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. Kids are dying every day because they're taking this junk laced with something else. They don't know what they're taking. They think they're buying a Tylenol or an Adderall and a Xanax, and it's laced with fentanyl, and they're dropping dead, and no longer because of you, what you've done. ATF, since you've been in office, President, along with DOJ agencies, seized 14,500 guns off the streets. Why aren't people reporting that? 651,000 rounds of ammo. That's up 151% from 2024. That's keeping America safe. We've rescinded death penalty. We are now seeking the death penalty on cases. I'm signing death warrants. We are going after terrorism. We are going after arsonists. Whether you're burning Teslas, we will see. We've arrested 9 people so far in 7 jurisdictions. No negotiations, 20 years in prison. Or you're burning down the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. We will be there to protect you. And I've been talking to Governor Shapiro, and he greatly appreciated you reaching out as well. ISIS terrorist, we got one in New York, right around the corner. We got an ISIS terrorist in New York. We have an October 7th task force. We just broke up a huge human trafficking ring by the Sinaloa cartel. 1,000 pounds of methamphetamine
Yo,
on our
Gene,
streets.
thank you for the sub.
Ton
Welcome
of
in.
fentanyl, 20,000
Look at Trump's face right
Molly
now.
pills. Those are the drug of choice among at clubs and bars for young kids. They were fake, but you know what?
And
they
it
had
is
in
rave
them?
time.
Fentanyl. That's 20,000 lives saved.
Electric
because of
Forest
you.
just went
right
on.
there. We brought back 29 cartel members from Mexico at your direction, and one killed the Kiki Camareno, a DEA agent, in 1985, and many of us got to talk to his widow and his son, who is now a judge. And they started crying. They have tried to get that guy back forever, and thanks to so many of you in this room working together, they have justice. They were crying on the phone because of what you did, President Trump. Thank you. We're going after anti-Semitism. We're unleashing everything you told us. No more DEI, no more weaponization. We have rescinded, as I said, 200 policies, and I could go on all day long, but we are doing everything in our power to keep America safe at your direction.
Thank you.
Thank you, President.
You're really doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, hold on. This just in. There is, Trump said something not too long ago. It's a little 9-minute segment off the plane. We're going to check
Thank
this
you very
out.
much. We've been in touch with
This has happened.
Governor Abbott and very close to Governor Abbott. and everybody in Texas. Kristi Noem has, as you know, been there, and will continue to be there. And we're working very close with representatives from Texas, and it's a horrible thing that took place. Absolutely horrible. So we say God bless all of the people that have gone through so much, and God bless the state of Texas. It's an incredible place. Any questions, please?
President, are you still planning to phase out FEMA?
Well, FEMA is something we can talk about later, but right now they're busy working, so we'll leave it at that. Go ahead.
For the trade letters that you're sending out on Monday, Secretary Bessent said that it would be a 3-week extension and that rates could go back up to the April 2nd level on August 1st. Is that what we should...
We're sending letters out on Monday having to do with the trade deals. It could be 12, maybe 15. You know, Secretary of Commerce right here. And I guess, Howard, I would say it could be maybe as many as 15 or so. And they'll be going out on Monday, and some will go out on Tuesday and Wednesday, and and we've made deals also. So we're going to have a combination of letters, and some deals have been made.
Elon Musk starting a third party.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican
Elon
Party.
started a third party.
The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party
That would be crazy.
system.
Yo, Jim, thank you for
And
the
I
sub
think
on YouTube.
starting a
Welcome
third
in.
party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
That would be crazy.
Golden key back from Elon.
Go ahead.
What's your message going to be to Netanyahu tomorrow?
Well, we're working on a lot of things with Israel, and one of the things is probably a permanent deal with Iran. In other words, they have to give up all of the things that you know so well. The attack turned out, according to every single Atomic Energy Commission, that was a complete and total obliteration. And we had the pilots, as you know, at the White House on Friday. They were incredible. And they confirmed that. They know better than anybody, by the way, but they confirmed that every bomb hit its mark perfectly. And they would have to start all over again at a different location. This one is, the word I used was the correct word, obliteration.
What will your message be on Gaza to Netanyahu?
I think we're close to a deal on Gaza. We could have it this week.
Democrats are claiming your federal cuts for the debts over in Texas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Deal with Hamas?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance we have a deal with Hamas during the coming week, pertaining to quite a few of the hostages. Yeah. You know, we've gotten a lot of the hostages out, but pertaining to the remaining hostages, quite a few of them will be coming out. We think we'll have that done this week.
Mr. President, do the tariff rates change at all on July 9th, or do they change on August 1st?
What are you talking about?
Tariff rates, do they change on July 9th or August 1st?
They're going to be tariffs. The tariffs are going to be the tariffs. I think we'll have most countries.
The tariffs are going to be the tariffs?
July 9th, yeah.
July 9th?
Either a letter or a deal.
But they won't go into effect until July.
On August 1st.
August 1st.
Tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president
Yeah.
is setting the rates and the deals right now.
Okay.
Are you investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or in the emergency coordination?
No,
They did not.
They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that, what a situation that all is. And that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup. But I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe. And it's just so horrible to watch.
Are you planning to visit Texas, Mr. President?
Probably on Friday. We wanted to leave a little time. I would have done it today, but we'd just be in their way. Probably Friday.
Mr. President, have you been briefed on the ship that was hit in the Red Sea? Do you know if the Houthis attacked that ship today?
We'll
Ship
give you a
got
report
attacked?
sometime tonight or
You have to
tomorrow.
look into that, yeah.
D.C. City Council has not approved the new stadium for the Commanders. If they don't approve it, will you step in?
Well, we see what happens. I've been looking at the deal, and You know, I don't blame them. They have to. It's a very important piece of property. It's a great piece of property. So we'll see. But if I can help them out, I will. You know, ultimately we control that. The federal government ultimately controls it. So we'll see what happens. I saw the plans. I saw the stadium. The owner's very, very successful and a very good man. I know him a little bit. And it would be a great place for the NFL to be there, I can tell you that. So if they want to negotiate a little tough, that's okay with me.
When you see the Commanders change the name back to Redskins?
Well, you want me to make a controversial statement?
Yes.
I would. I wouldn't have changed the name. But that's there. It just doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same ring to me. But, you know, winning can make everything sound good.
He's
So
right.
if they win, all of a sudden the Commanders sounds good. But I wouldn't have changed the name. Say it.
Why not help Ukraine the same way you helped Israel?
I am helping Ukraine. I'm helping it a lot. And it's a war that should have never happened. It's a war that should have never started. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, and it was rigged so badly, and that's come out. Read Miranda Devine in the New York Post today. The election was totally rigged. And if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have a war with Russia right now. And you wouldn't have had inflation. And you wouldn't have had the horrible Afghanistan, the way they left. Not that they left. We would have been out before them. But the way they left, I think the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had the October horror show with Israel and Hamas. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had the recent showdown with Iran. You wouldn't have had any of it. And you wouldn't have had inflation.
Well, you said you had a strategic call with Zelensky the other day. What strategy did you
I thought it was a good call. He's being hit very hard, as I said he would. He's being hit very hard, and I was very disappointed with my call with President Putin. I was very disappointed.
In light of the floods, do you think that the federal government needs to hire back any of the meteorologists who were fired in the last few months?
I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't. I would think not. This was the thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Very talented people are there, and they didn't see it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years. They've never seen anything like this. So I wouldn't, I mean, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing. But no, I wouldn't say that, no.
Secretary Ludnick, are you expecting any deals to be signed this week, and what countries are closest to that?
Well, the president is right in the midst of discussing all sorts of deals with all sorts of countries, and the gentleman to my right's going to decide, and I'm going to be with him when he makes that decision.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's reasonable. Just a quick press briefing.
Listening in there.
What I really picked out of that is I'm interested about Elon's new political party. I want to kind of learn more about that, but we are going to have to save it for another day. We've just ended our update hour. If you guys enjoy the updates, make sure you hit the like button and the sub button, and I'll see you guys on the next stream. 7 o'clock every day, baby. Peace.